Well, Mr. Sellers asked me to I guess about a month ago. Actually, no, you first introduced the idea. I think
While you were still a faculty member.
That's right. Yes. So this has been brewing for a long time. Yeah. As soon as he suspected that Annie was going to be the show in the fall, then he thought, you know what? There's this is why I like Mr. Sellers, right? Like, not for the reasons that you like him primarily, which I do, but there's a whole other layer to the man. That's the reason I like him, and it's this: that the man really appreciates the historical and economic forces that underlie human nature, sort of play in the background. And a lot of times, what the masses don't really understand what's any of those or care about any of those until they come to them in a form that they can understand and appreciate, and that will entertain them, such as a musical. But when most of us approach or see a musical or hear about a musical, then we're not even really conscious that there are all kinds of other forces that were acting upon different characters, or which they weren't characters, they were people at one time, or different events, or all these kinds of circumstances that led to the production of this one piece of art that maybe for us we care about only because of the song. You know, maybe we haven't even seen the thing or won't see the thing. I've never seen Wicked, for example, but I probably could sing 2 full songs from Wicked, which I'm not going to do right now. So it's because they appeal to us on that surface level, and then they can have surprising power to actually go very deep into our souls. But that's on the consumer end of it. What we don't as readily access is what went on the production end to actually form the thing in the first place, to get it through the whole rigmarole to the point that Charles is going to want to actually hit play on that song from Wicked one more time and belt it out in the top of his lungs. But and so that's why Mr. Sellers has brought me here today, is to be able to talk about some of that backstage, those backstage ingredients or elements that went into kind of the making of Annie. And we really don't need to talk about these unless we are going to take on the responsibility of actually being actors in the musical. Oh, which you are. And so we do. We actually do have a responsibility to look at all of these. That way we can actually treat the musical with the proper mindset. I mean, think about it. There are going to be all kinds of people who are going to be paying you American dollars to come see you on this stage. Tickets are sold, right? They're not just.
You know, actually, for this production, we're trying something we've never done before.
Are you really? Okay.
We are doing donations.
Really?
For this show, yes.
Okay.
And there's a suggested donation of $10 for adults and $7 for children, but you know what? We've got almost unlimited capacity because we're doing it at Franklin High School. We've got 1,000 seats.
Excellent.
And we thought, what a better opportunity. There's no better opportunity to promote Christian art and also this ministry through getting as many bodies in there as we possibly can.
That sounds great. I couldn't agree more.
So, we're going to try donations.
Well, very good.
Let's see what happens.
Well, you know what? I think that you're going to try and succeed in that respect. So it will remain true then that people are going to be paying you American dollars on faith that you are going to be able to perform Annie with some fidelity to its context and to its script. And hello, Ms. Watkins. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. It's good to see you. And make it worth their time. And so you do have a special responsibility to understand what it is you're getting into. So. I certainly didn't understand what I was getting into when I tried out for Annie my freshman year. So just a couple of thoughts, comments about my own experience here, and I want to use that as a launching pad to talk about you, which I want to do. I want to actually end with. So I was a freshman in high school when I tried out for Annie. I think it was the year 2000. It was and the most important day in that whole experience would have been December 7th. That was day 1 of tryouts. December 7th, 2000. The reason I remember that day is because I counted it backward once when I would come to understand the full importance of that day. The full importance of that day was not that I got the part of Rooster, which I did. That's you, right? Mm-hmm. Awesome. As important as that is, in the grand scheme of things, it is slightly less important, in my life at least, in my narrative, to something else that happened on that day. I met the woman who would become my wife. Now, I was a freshman, she was a junior, you know what I'm saying? All right, yeah, okay. Just want to point that out. Okay? Probably several times between now and when I leave. And it, never would have predicted that I would have been so blessed to be able to just take on what to me at the time was just this colossal responsibility, just this dream role of getting to be the guy who dances Easy Street with all of these much older high schoolers up on stage. That's what I got to do, and it was great. And in the process, I ended up forming a friendship and then eventually a relationship with Maggie. Well, I mean that ended up folding over the summer because she tried to hold my hand and like off stage. So, I didn't know what to do about that. So I ended up just not talking to her all summer, and came back in the fall. We were in more theater again, and Annie was just the entry point to a lot of productions that Maggie and I would be in together. I ended up not taking her to homecoming and all that year, and she ended up getting a boyfriend in order to make me jealous, but I failed to notice. And there was a lot of drama off stage to accompany the drama that was going on stage. But I tell you what, if it weren't for Annie, then we wouldn't have built up that chemistry that would allow us to act opposite each other the next year in The Music Man, in which I fell in love with her actually during that production. Yeah. And you laugh.
It happens.
Yes, it does. No.
You have a similar story?
Oh, yeah, I've never shared?
No.
Very quickly, community theater. I'd never auditioned for Mason Community Players. I'd done some semi-professional stuff and done some stuff in Lebanon, and I auditioned for The Sound of Music. My bride-to-be at that time actually auditioned for the role of Liesel. I auditioned for Rolf. We were cast as the Captain and Maria. I had never met her. We had passed like ships in the night several times. She's 8 years my junior. So I mean, if I had seen her 8 years previous to that, I mean, I would have not paid any attention in any way, shape, or form, but we became fast friends during the course of the production. As soon as we were done with the show, I broke up with my girlfriend, she broke up with her boyfriend. We were engaged that Christmas and got married the next summer. So
Fast move.
yeah, exactly.
Well, he's a little older, I didn't want to.
I was 30, going on 31, yeah. So.
You were 30.
Going on 31. Yes, I was.
Nice little entryway.
So,
Okay, anyway.
just
Well,
It
in
does
a
happen.
nutshell,
fantastic.
there,
Thank you for the validation.
no, so here, don't get too freaked out, guys,
Yeah,
but this
be
could be the
careful.
start.
Be careful.
Yeah, don't get too freaked out, but this could be the start of a lifelong relationship with somebody.
Right. This could be, yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, maybe somebody in this room. Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, we'll keep rolling. Okay, so,
There you go.
Or to crash and burn really awfully too.
drama at DC, particularly in Annie, was really important for me for a lot of reasons. That's obviously the far and away the most important one. I'm married to Maggie now, and we have 2.5 kids. One on the way, by the way. So,
Congratulations.
thank you. My best friends actually came out of DC theater. In fact, I had a really hard time. I was such good friends with them that when they graduated, most of them were 2 years older than me at the time. I had a really hard time kind of adjusting that junior year then. And that just goes to show that when you are going through an experience like this, that a lot of folks are just not fully appreciating, because they're like, well, maybe I'm just sports, or maybe I just do X, Y, or Z, and they haven't actually experienced or tried what it is that you are going out there and putting your reputation on the line for, which takes an extraordinary amount of courage. Then they're also going to be missing out on the bonds that are formed. And so I just want to encourage you and tell you how excited I am for you to be able to go through this process here. And I'm so happy that it's Annie, because it is an important production. It was for me, and I think it will be for you. The reason I've taken some time to tell you a little bit about this experience is because Annie is kind of like a mirror, and not just Annie, but a lot of musicals. Not just musicals, but a lot of plays, and not just plays, but really literature in general. And when I say literature, I'm actually going to wrote movies right in there. Just lump them right in there next to Moby Dick. All right, just boom, right there.
That's almost blasphemy.
I know, but only almost. Musicals like Annie can serve as a mirror. And take for instance the story that I just told you. If I were to scoot over here, and I'll be back in a second because I know that we're rolling film on this. But if you do one of these and you look behind you, right? Then as I look in this, and I of course see myself, but I also see all kinds of things. I can see Alec over there. What's interesting about that is that Alec is actually in front of me. Not in front of my head, the way my head is turned, but he's in front of the way that I'm really facing and sitting. When you look backwards into a mirror, then if you can take a moment to see past yourself and look at everything else, you're actually able to see far in front of you. That's what a mirror can show you. Take, for instance, Annie. I look back on my experience with Annie, and what I see are all kinds of forces at work that actually have shaped my future. When I look back on that production, I don't really think about the past very much. What I really think about is, oh my gosh, I have 2.5 kids now with Maggie. And when I think about doing Easy Street and all of that, what I think about is how my future sister-in-law, and when I didn't know she was going to be my future sister-in-law, was co-directing that. And how I'm actually like hanging out with her now, like regularly when she comes over on Sunday nights to hang out with me, my wife, and my kids. And it's impossible for me to look back without, at the same time, looking forward at the now, and then who knows what lies ahead. But a mirror works another way too, doesn't it? If you look head on into the mirror, I won't stand up and face the mirror, but most of us do that every day at least once, and so I don't think I need to act it out for you. If you would look directly into a mirror and you, again, can take a moment to see past yourself, then you see all kinds of things that are, in fact, behind you. That is what literature does too. That is what Annie, the musical, can do for you as well. I should say it's what it ought to do, especially for you. More than for your audience. Your audience won't know what's happening. They're going to walk in, they're going to get their favorite song. Some of them will be more conscious of what's going on, but besides listening to the music and you putting a smile on their faces. You have some deep thinkers like Sean in there, or he's going to be processing everything he's seeing. But most of them are just going to be consuming it. But in order for you to do a good job producing it, then you need to be conscious of what else is in the mirror. When you look at Annie as a mirror, then don't just look for your character, look for all the forces behind you as well. What I mean is this. The forces that that went into producing Annie are actually far, far broader than I ever realized. Mr. Sellers, have you told them any background as to the making of
No, I have not. We've only done a read-through, actually, and tonight was our first real rehearsal, and so they did a little bit of music, but we really haven't had a chance to talk about the story.
Very good. Well, I'm going to take a few minutes here to tell you some of these forces that are at work, because you don't get the musical Annie without understanding these things that are coming to bear upon it. When we look into Annie, it's going to reflect so much about people and events that are not too far behind us at all. They're going to seem probably very far to you, less far to you guys with your AP government books, but pretty far to the rest of us. And all of these have had a profound effect upon shaping the other person in the mirror, which is, of course, you. How? How can that happen? Well, by reflecting, but because Annie reflects everything that was going on around it at the time that it was made. You know, this mirror didn't just walk in here, did it? It was actually made in a factory. And Annie, too, is a mirror that was made, but it was made over a longer period of time. Does anybody know when Annie first was produced and performed on Broadway? We have two. All right, I'm going to go with Mrs. Miller.
1979.
77.
77. I went one way the other way.
Right on.
It
Very
was a
good.
year around where I was born, so yes.
Cool. Very good. Excellent.
I was a year out of high school.
1977. Yes, that's
And y'all
right.
were twinkles.
I got another one for you, so you can go for two. What about the first movie that most of us have seen? I don't say the first movie ever for Annie, but the first movie production of it.
99?
Yeah.
Sorry, you said 99?
I said 99.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, there's an older one that I actually grew up on.
Oh, 80.
82.
Yeah,
It was
82.
82.
Yeah, very good. 1982.
I grew up on the old.
Okay, I got another one for you. 99 was actually my second question. Have you seen a movie since then? You know there's one coming out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured you would know that. Yes, I didn't know that until I began digging around a little bit for today.
Honestly, that's one of the reasons why we chose Annie and are performing it in the fall in advance of the movie being released on December 19th.
How
We
about that?
we thought there would be some nice buzz,
Yeah,
some nice
absolutely.
going on. So.
Oh, very cool. It's a
Yeah.
great idea. Well, believe it or not, the Broadway musical Annie and the films that have come after it actually stretch back to 1924, which is when there was a comic strip was introduced. The comic strip called Little Orphan Annie. Have you heard of this comic strip? Yeah. Have you ever read it or seen it?
Oh, Christmas story. Ralphie listens to Christmas story.
Ralphie listens to it. I don't know. Very good. Awesome. You know, I used to have a bag of Smarties with me for like, really cool answers like that, but I'm not a teacher anymore, so I have no candy. But I would throw one at you if I did. Yeah. You know, not surprised that most haven't read it because at the time that it was canceled in 2010, that's a long time to run, by the way, almost 100 years. It was only running in 20 papers. It died a gradual death, but not before it lived an incredibly full life. In 1924, this comic strip was rolled out, and it caught on immediately. This, however, is before a key event that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. Once this key event happens, and I think you know what that's going to be, some of you do. What's going to be a key event that's going to be central to Annie?
Great Depression.
The Great Depression, yeah, very good. 1929, we'll get into some of the things going on there. Yeah, the stock market crashed, yeah. Well, so a year after that, in 1930, Little Orphan Annie, the comic strip, actually inspires a radio show. And so it's going to be a variation of, acting out different parts of the comic strip and that kind of thing. Well, 2 years after that, such is the fame of Annie that in 1932, the first film rendition is going to be made. 1932. Ever seen it?
Is
No.
it a talkie?
It would have been.
Yeah, I
33,
think,
yeah.
yeah,
Close,
1932.
yeah.
Yep. It's remade in 1938 by Paramount. You've heard of Paramount, I'm sure, right? In 1938, now we're really cooking because now we're actually we're feeling the full weight of the Great Depression. And this story is, and this comic strip, radio show, and now movie, and is going to lead us to actually produce a second movie. People are really caring about what's going on in Annie. In fact, 1 year before the remake of this film, why would you remake a film? This was 6 years after the first one was made. We've got a 15-year gap between the 99 film that Alex has seen and the one you all are going to go see on Christmas Day. Right? That's 15 years. Like, we don't need to do it shorter than that, right? But they're going to do it within 6. Well, 1 year before that, a poem, of all things, was ranked number 1 in Fortune as the best poem, whatever the title was. I don't know why Fortune was ranking poems, but we might be able to. It might be appropriate when you consider that probably Fortune is going to be talking about some different things in the middle of the Great Depression than we would expect it to be talking about today, or talking about just 10 years earlier. This poem that was ranked number 1 is called Little Orphant Annie. Little Orphant Annie. Yeah, you should look it up. I'm not going to read it to you. I was going to, but it's a little too long. Well, this poem, Little Orphant Annie, had actually been read since 1885. That was when it was first published by a poet named James Whitcomb Riley. In 1885, publishes Little Orphaned Annie, although he doesn't mean to call it Little Orphaned Annie, he means to call it Little Orphaned Allie. And when he sent it to the publishers, the brothers messed up the typeface, the letters there. And I don't know if it was his penmanship or it looked too much like mine or what, but they ended up replacing the L's with N's. And he actually calls up and he's like, "Hey, you gotta change this. What are you doing? You know, you just ruined my poem title." And they're like, "Oh, you mean the one that's like catching on and picking up all of this, you know, popularity?" And he's like, "Okay, let's wait it out and see what happens." And then he decides it's too late to change it now. If I change it to Little Orphan Annie, I'm going to get accused of plagiarizing myself, so because everybody knows about Little Orphan Annie. That's 1885. So the musical that's going to catch on, that's going to come out at Christmas, actually can be traced all the way back to 1999 when I'm still in school, to 1982 before I'm born, to 1977 around when Mrs. Miller is being born, and